Welcome, this is Talking Reds on Wednesday in association with Tokyo Time. I am your host, Mo Stewart, and the gods have given me Gutmann for the second week in a row, and I couldn't be happier.
Oh, mate.
How you doing, Rob?
I'm good. all the better.
Now, obviously, it's Wednesday, and we were at the midpoint here between the game that's just gone and the game that's still to come on Monday night against Crystal Palace. And we've got so much great new video content and previews and reviews out here on the Anfield Wrap. If you don't believe me, it's all on the side of the screen. Just check that information point there and you'll find it all.
Is that going to work, that point?
Yeah.
Probably.
The magic of video, Rob, the magic of video. Now, because of all of that content, there's probably not much point in us going on about it today, so we're going to take a slightly different tack. Now, unfortunately, the biggest story in the world of LFC in the last 24 hours is essentially Bollocks. But I feel like sometimes it's important for us to debunk the Bollocks, so we're going to be talking about it.
Castrate them, if you will.
Yes, exactly. Castrate the Bollocks. That sounds a little bit harsh, but anyway.
Yes.
Now, this is a story regarding Mo Salah and the fact that he's been referred to the police by people within the club because of a video that has emerged of him being on his phone while driving the car. Now, technically he was in a traffic jam, so there are lots of people out there who probably do those kind of things. But the law is the law. Now, the reason it's become a wider issue is because of the fact that the person who filmed it was trying to get an autograph from him, or should I say he was sending kids over to try and get an autograph from him, and Mo refused, to which the guy was saying he was a horrible, horrible man. Now, in my opinion, the problem with this has nothing to do with Mo Salah. The problem to do with this is the guy who was making the video, because as Simon Hughes pointed out on Twitter, the players know who these guys are, the ones who are not real autograph hunters, the ones who are sending kids in there to try and get stuff so they can then sell it on. They're not even buying stuff themselves when they turn up to some of these signings. And they really are creating a problem for the real genuine Liverpool fans who may want to get a glimpse of their heroes at certain times.
Yeah, it's interesting that this has brought this issue to the fore in a way. My lad actually bought one of these souvenirs off one of these fellas a couple of years ago, you know, his younger, naive days. And it just made me think at the time, what the actual is that all about, you know? I mean, yeah, it's crazy. And the fact that the guy had the nerve to then, what's the word, grass Mo up is, notwithstanding Mo shouldn't have done that, but it's crazy. And can we chat about this beforehand? It is an exemplifier of how Mo's going to have to put up with this shit a bit more now that he's the official best player in the world. You know?
Welcome to superstardom, mate, unfortunately. Now, the thing that I was pleased about is that most of the criticisms come from non-Liverpool fans, the kind of people who look more desperate than ever to get one over on us or to try and bring him down a peg or two because they're scared of him, essentially. Everyone within the LFC family or the LFC bubble, so to speak, we were all fully behind Mo on this one. I think that's fair to say. I should probably point out as well that the reason why he didn't wind his window down is it's actually club policy to not give autograph hunters while out of the car, possibly because it will increase the chances of committing driving offences. So you can understand exactly why the club have done this. And obviously they've had to follow through. Now that the video's become public, they have to report it to the police whether they want to or not.
Yeah. I was, again, we were saying beforehand, it feels like Mo's had such a lovely time in England, doesn't it? It's a wonderful experience. You know, all the adulation, all the goals, all the lovely appearances, and Anfield just being this warmth that's been sort of proffered towards him. And I hope it's not a turning point. You know what I mean? Yeah. I hope it's not that. I saw a tweet from a journalist abroad, might have been someone who covered the Bundesliga, I can't quite remember, he said, it's an unfair statement, but you knew what he meant. He went, "What's wrong with you guys?" Meaning the whole of the UK. Why'd you end up hating everyone? And I thought, yeah, it does feel a little bit like one of those moments, and I hope it is, and I hope we're wrong, and we're just blowing it out. We're part of the blowing it out of proportion fraternity here. But
I mean, I think we're trying to bring it a little bit back to reality. Is the way I see it.
That's what we're doing.
We're debunking here, Rob. We're not blowing up.
We're debunking.
And the reason why we're debunking is it makes a really pertinent point for me that it seems like a really strange time to try and make this point against Salah. They're trying to putting out to be some guy who's cold, who doesn't care about the fans, when in the game itself, that young lad ran on and he gave him a hug, and he probably said to him, "Run quick, they're about to come and get you."
That was a really funny moment.
It was a great
No one's ever
moment.
done that with a what do you call it?
A young fan,
A pitch invader,
an interloper.
An interloper, yeah.
But also, at a time when the engagement from the club to the fans is higher than it's arguably ever been. When you think about the kind of things that we saw in the last pre-season game, where they're staying for hours afterwards signing stuff, they're throwing out scarves and stuff to the shirt, to the crowd, the fans on interacting with players on social media, the likes that we've seen with Trent and Adam Lallana and Adam Robertson reaching out to fans, and Oxlade-Chamberlain as well.
It's a hot potato because of what I think, because in the States they were so inclusive with the fans on that tour. That there were those murmurings that back at base, back home, the fans here were saying, "We don't really get that kind of love. That's a bit of a shame." And the club actually paid heed, showed that love as you just described, and then we get this, an even higher profile, which is a player in theory not showing that love, but for good reason.
Yeah.
And getting stitched up for it.
Completely stitched. So, Mo, if you are listening to the show, don't worry about it. Everyone who matters still loves you. We're still on your side. And unfortunately, this is something you're probably going to have to get used to for the future, as Rob said. Now, bringing it back to a little bit more football-related business, there was a story out last week that James Pearce put out saying that Liverpool are ready to listen to offers for Ragnar Klavan. Now, Gibbo and Craig touched on this a little bit yesterday, and I wanted to pick up on something John Gibbo said actually specifically regarding whether or not Liverpool are under more pressure than we realise to recoup some money in for this summer, because all that we've got in, or should I say all we've got out, is Danny Ings, and that deal, the money is not coming till next year.
It's a theory, I'm not sure I buy it, and I don't think Klavan even puts a dent in it, because he's a player, what is he, 32?
Yes.
Heading forwards 33 possibly. Not a huge amount of time left on his contract. You're talking small potatoes relative in terms of the fee we get in. I don't think he's the biggest earner in the club. I'd be surprised if he was on more than about 50 a week. So it's not a big saving.
But what about the general point that Liverpool are disappointed with the amount of money that they've been able to recoup, and whether if we'd have been able to sell the likes of Markovic, Origi, even Mignolet earlier on in the window, we may have gone in for another centre-half if we're looking to release Klavan, for example?
The club's written cheques out for best part of 360 million in the last 13 months. I don't think they're blanching because they're not getting the sales. I think those days are never gone forever where you've got to sell to buy, because I think one, if you're trying to get rid of assets that aren't obviously wanted.
No.
You're not, it's hard to get good price. It's hard, and it's also hard to time when you're going to get the money for them. It's not a business model, and I don't quite believe Liverpool would have thought they'd get that money in. I mean, okay, the window's not closed yet. Ings is decent money.
Oh, it is.
I mean, we may come to discuss the nuances of how that deal works, but it seems like it's effectively, albeit in a year's time, a £20 million deal, which is a decent money. The only others we were hoping to sell would be Markovic. I don't think we were expecting big bucks for him because he's not got much left.
His value is through the floor.
Yeah.
So in that respect, it's really hard to see you getting anywhere near your money back for
Origi
it.
and Mignolet were the other assets, I would say, we'd have hoped to have got some money for. And maybe, I think they'd be quite content if they could get a fee for one of those two before the window's out.
Yeah, it's an interesting point though, really, isn't it? Like you say, we're in a much better financial position in general, so the scars of the past of the whole net spend brigade are probably a little bit still there with some of us. But I think I choose to believe the positive outlook that you're putting out there, Rob.
That's very big. That's very good of you. Very decent of you.
Well, you know.
Look, I'm not going to buy into the line that I think FSG are philanthropists in any sense, but I think they're seeing the wisdom of spending the money that's now being generated. One thing they did always say is, any money generated will go back into the playing staff. We're not seeing dividends being drawn out from them, and we know the club are now generating money, and it looks like that promise is being is being what's the word?
Realised?
Realised, that's the word. And also we sold Phil Coutinho for £142 million. That's enabled us to spend big. There are sometimes clubs spend that amount of money and reap that amount of money but don't actually spend it. I mean, Real Madrid haven't spent 100 million for Cristiano Ronaldo. It almost shouldn't be taken for granted that these funds at that level get reinvested, but they have been by us this summer.
Now, talking about the wider transfer market, another story that's emerged in the last 24 hours, come from the Mirror Sport, is that some of the Premier League clubs have not been happy with the situation with this window regarding the disparity between our window closing and those of the rest of Europe. Now, the Mirror story says that one or two clubs have made it known that they regret their decision, and they may even be looking to reverse it when the Premier League chiefs all come together for their meeting next month. Now, do you welcome this reversal, Rob? And do you think that it shows that it was a stupid idea to begin with, or maybe they just needed to get everyone else to adapt to it?
I love the transfer window, so damn right I'm pleased they want to reverse it. In all practicality, I think Klopp made the point a few weeks ago. It's a little bit nuts to not have synchronised with Europe when we deal with Europe. It's not like Europe's a fringe part of our activity. It's all of our activity. Our Premier League buying is a smaller percentage. So I think it's crazy that we did it that way unilaterally. It makes no sense whatsoever. I have a view that if a club really doesn't like the idea of the extension of the window, wants its business done before the season starts, wants certainty of who it's got in and out, it can set its own parameters. It has total control. Whoever tomorrow, Aston Villa or, I don't know, let's pick a Premier League team, they want to say Wolves tomorrow could say, we are not going to buy another player beyond August the 1st next year. And we're putting that out there to Europe, to all the agents. Don't think we're going to bid past that date. It's a fact, it's a club policy we're not doing. And also, by the way, we're not selling past that date. And clubs can have their own stipulations. But I think in terms of a factual transfer window, a legal transfer window, which is, immutable, I think it has to be a European-wide thing, a UEFA diktat. It can't be a Premier League on its own. I think it's almost a dangerous little principle as well.
I agree with you 100%, and it feels like the idea that they would go ahead with it without getting that Europe-wide approval is the big mistake that hopefully will be rectified. Now, do you think that going forward we're going to see the window close before the start of the season across Europe-wide, or do you think it's going to go back to how it was before with basically, because obviously the leagues start at different times. We don't have that uniformity in terms of when we start, because obviously there are some leagues that have less teams than others and have less games than others, and there are many different factors worked out into when they start their leagues. So do you think it's going to be, from now on, all European clubs are going to be doing their business before the season starts?
Well, that's an issue. Picking a date's an issue whatever date you pick because of the fact you just said. So that doesn't concern me so much, because on the old transfer window date, 31st of August, I think everyone had started by then.
Yeah.
So it was a reasonable date to pick. I'm not quite sure what the big objection was, that you could still make adjustments after the season happened, that managers thought they settled on their squads but they weren't quite right, because personally, I don't know, if as a manager I would like the August 31st date. If I was a manager, I would like that deadline, because despite all the best laid plans, when the action starts, you really do see where your problems are.
Yeah, and I think some of the main issues were from the smaller clubs who were maybe feeling unsettled by the fact that maybe a bigger club could then maybe get an injury and then go in for one of their guys and completely ruin all of their.
But everyone's a big club compared to a smaller club. If I'm Hull, there are minnows compared to me. They can.
You are still a big boy compared to someone lower down the chain.
Of course. So they're a predator. Everyone's a predator in football. The idea that it's, we feel we're a big club. We've taken players off Southampton. Well, you want to come and see what Barcelona and Madrid have done to us, Southampton. There's only 2 or 3 clubs or maybe 4 or 5 at the top of the food chain who don't get preyed upon. And even then, their players occasionally get unsettled and want to leave, like Cristiano Ronaldo for whatever reason. So I don't quite buy that it's a big club, small club thing. Okay. I know some managers have come out and been vocal, going, no, I like to know what I'm working with. But for me, firstly, pre-season seems a fragile time in terms of players' fitness. I might be imagining it, but it seems to me you can get to the start of the season and then early on, a couple of players break down early doors. Like we had Lallana last season. You go, we need to do something about this.
Yeah, this is true.
We don't know whether Lovren's injury might turn out to be a much bigger deal than we thought. And we're missing him for half the season all of a sudden.
Could you imagine that? Oh my God.
So I do think that the first 2 or 3 matches of a campaign reveal a lot. And it's a shame sometimes, I think, to maybe just not spoil a campaign, but not to get it right, considering all the planning and preparation you put in for the sake of pulling it back for some, I think, fairly nebulous principle that it's a bit more harmonious to have the business done before a ball is kicked. It feels a bit arbitrary to me either way.
Interesting. I'm sure I'd love to have you in on that meeting next month and see.
I'd cause more problems, more questions than answers I would pose, I promise you boys. But I'm there.
Hey, he's there if you need him, just like we need him here.
Tokyo Time is sponsoring Talking Reds for Wednesdays for the foreseeable future, which were made up about. They're a Liverpool company. They're trying to do things differently. They're trying to do things better, a bit like the Anfield wrap. And so they've set up only recently, but already got a lot of traction for kind of what they want to do. They helped us out in America. They gave us hats to wear over there, and very much needed they were in that bacon sun next to the pitch watching the Liverpool boys train. So yeah, since then they've come in, they've asked us about doing something a little bit more formal. So that's what we're going to do. So they're going to be sponsoring Wednesdays on the Talking Reds for the foreseeable future. If you're into your baseball caps, you're into your street style, or you know anyone else who is, or you're looking for presents to buy for people, do check out their website. It's tokyotime.co.uk, or follow them on Instagram. They've got loads of styles, something for everyone, and the fit is really, really good. So yeah, cheers to the boys for supporting us. They're supporting us, so do try and support them, tokyotime.co.uk.
Now, there was some actual football results last night, some of which have influenced Liverpool. Unfortunately for Celtic, they went out of the Champions League at the third qualifying round stage against AEK Athens. And another Greek team is going to hold the future of what Liverpool are going to be in, because they're going to be up against Benfica in the final round. First of all, Rob, do you think that PAOK Salonika can cause an upset against them? And second of all, do you think it really matters in the long run?
Well, that's the latter question is perhaps the more relevant one. Yeah, no, I mean it's a tricky little Champions League this year, because actually pot 4 is bad, and I think if you end up in pot 3, you could end up with 2 top teams against you, and possibly a third decent one in the final pot, and you go, shit, this is a hard group to get out of, you know. So whilst it would be no disaster, and it's still in the lap of the gods who we get anyway, if we were in pot 3, and it's not exactly worth having a party about if we get in pot 2 by the other side of the coin, but I'd still prefer it. And I think the choice, can PAOK beat them? I think so. I mean, we're talking about Europe's middle rankers. Benfica didn't exactly, they did well, but they didn't sweep AEK aside. I don't think there's night and day between AEK and PAOK. So hope springs eternal. I'm not sure what the betting would be. I'm sure Benfica would be favourites, but not by a huge amount.
So, okay, that's fair enough. We'll keep an eye on those scores. But yeah, in the long run, I think it's fair to say, considering how we performed in Europe last season, I think other teams should be looking at us more than we should be looking at other teams in general. So.
But I'm going to say something, because people say that every time. They said it throughout the Champions League campaign. I don't care who we beat. You've got to beat the best whenever. But here's the basic maths on this, boys. Right? Even if you're the best team in the competition, the favourites at the start, if in every team you draw the hardest team you could draw, the odds, even though they be in your favour, cumulatively aren't. You are always better off, however good you think you are, playing the weaker teams. Because you do the maths on the odds. If I'm playing a team, do I have to talk you through this? I will if you want.
but I mean, if we're looking at it, how many of them are really weak teams though this year? Because like you just said, pot 4 is looking better than ever.
Yeah, that's it. You get one. There's 1 or 2 in pot 1, aren't they? The Russian teams. Is it one of the Spartaki type numbers? I forget. Yeah, Spartak.
Hello to our friends over there in Russia.
Spartak Eastern Europe. God bless you. As they used to say, semi-xenophobically in the 70s, it's a crack outfit from Eastern Europe. They're always called crack
Yes,
outfits.
that's always part of the competition.
And then crack starts to mean something else, so they're not anymore. So here we are. Mo, over to you.
Thank you for that hospital pass, Rob.
Yeah.
As I say, we'll be keeping an eye on all of the Champions League results, and hopefully when the draw comes out, we'll find out exactly where we're going and who we're up against. Now, for the rest of the week, there's some more shows coming out. In fact, there's a couple coming out today on the Anfield wrap. We've got a wild cards show, which is always good fun, where we look into topics of discussion, Liverpool past, present and random, and these are all put forward by you. So you're to blame for the subjects that we're discussing in that show. And another show that doesn't come around as often, Market. Now, I believe this is another one of your shows, Rob. So do you want to let the people know exactly how it goes down?
It's a spin-off show from my award-winning transfer show, The Gutter. Oh, well, I gave
Award-winning?
Yeah, I gave it an award.
Oh, okay.
My favourite show to do award. No, it's a throughout the summer, we were doing a transfer update show 3 times a week, and we do it bits and pieces during the season. This is somewhat of a monthly, maybe every 2-month show where we look at the wider issues around the transfer market, look at all the big clubs in England, say what are their next big moves. We sometimes touch on issues like we've touched on today about the window and its length. We look at in the show we did yesterday, we've analysed Liverpool's buying over the summer, and we said, did we win the window was the question posed. The perception in the wider world is that Liverpool definitely won this window. Did we? Does it matter? All those things you can find out about if you subscribe and you listen.
Wow, I'm actually going to go and listen to that show now.
It's a sell, isn't it?
Yeah, no, you sold me 100%. Hopefully I'll be on the next one.
Okay, I don't, do you know what? I don't pick the guests.
Oh, really?
I don't. I occasionally put out requests, but they don't get listened to, so don't ever be offended that it's me.
Oh, no, I'm never offended, Rob. I'm always happy when you
No, I'd
choose
always
me.
have you. I don't get to actually show. I'd write in my contract, I want Mo, because he knows what he's talking about, unlike some of the others. Lads.
That sounds like the perfect time to end, honestly. Thank you very much, Rob.
It's my pleasure.
There's plenty more that's coming out on the Anfield Wrap. If you subscribe to us now, £5 a month, more than worth your money. As I said, there's all that other content there. If you just click on that little button, we'll see you tomorrow.
Really, it's been this much excitement going into a new season as there is now. Since 2011, the Anfield Wrap's been your companion, home and away supporting Liverpool. We cover every game, we're at every game in one way or another. We're doing previews, we're doing match reviews, we're looking at everything in detail, all the transfer news with us. We're doing as close as possible, instant reaction to all the news and events that matter to you. Throughout 2018, wherever Liverpool have been, we've been as well. We went to Rome, we went to Kiev, and this summer we've covered the pre-season games in Dublin, as well as the tour in the United States of America, where we got exclusive interviews with Andy Robertson and Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp.
And I loved the last season because I really felt how we all came together.
Next year we'll be adding even more video content to our award-winning audio content, so it's a great time to get involved with the Anfield Wrap, share the journey of supporting LFC with us.